Loneliness isn't just a feeling, it's also a health risk. According to US Surgeon General Vivek Murthy, being lonely, particularly in retirement, is equivalent to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. That's the direct connection on loneliness and the impact it has on our physical health. And the data about loneliness is fascinating because despite many of us over 50 becoming less lonely as we age, there's also a growing amount of people who become more lonely. In fact, it doubles over 50 compared to younger people. And it seems in the modern age that loneliness is getting worse. Sometimes our devices are amazing at connecting us, but also it acts as a barrier to making the really intentional human connections we need to make to put loneliness at bay. Epicurus, millennia ago, talked about how isolation is toxic for the soul. And that's why he created Hokepos. Effectively, he opened his back garden and created a community where people could hang out, talk about life, but talk about tranquility, wisdom, and purpose. So in this video, I want to talk about how important, how vital friendships and community are when we consider the next stage of our lives. How we can learn a lot from the Stoics about avoiding loneliness, and the 3 practical actions you can take today to make sure that you're not one of the 1 in 6 people who are lonelier in the next chapter of their lives. Welcome to What Happens Next. Now, whilst the majority of the conversations I have with people who are approaching retirement are about money, you'd expect that from a chartered financial planner who's helped people navigate the money puzzle in this chapter of their lives for 20 years. I think there's a topic that comes a close second, and that's friendships, relationships, and community. You see, often we underestimate the fact that as our work lives change, as we change roles or change jobs or retire and stop work, our social lives can be fundamentally impacted too. I had a friend who realised that a lot of his social engagement happened in work. And whilst those people are still his friends, the dynamic has changed because they're still at work and he's not anymore. And when we're thinking about the next chapter of our lives, we really need to consider our social well-being and how we maintain really good quality friendships through work and particularly beyond. Now, the statistics about the over 50s are really clear. Actually, many people in the 3rd chapter of their life over the age of 50 are really, really good at maintaining and building social connections. But the interesting thing is, while most of us are really good at building and maintaining social connections over 50, the amount of people who really struggle also grows over 52. The fact is, 1 in 6 of us, the statistics say, over 50, feel lonely most or all of the time. And that's why on this video I want to talk about Epicurean wisdom. Now, I know on this channel I talk a lot about Stoic wisdom, and Epicurus was a different school of thought. They agreed on certain things, the Stoics and the Epicureans, but Epicurean was all about having fun, spending time with people he loved and liked, and focusing on that as his philosophy for life. And whilst I probably agree a lot more with the Stoics than I do with the Epicureans, I think there's a lot we can learn from all different philosophical disciplines. So what can we learn from Epicurus, and how does it fit together with the modern research we know to actively improve our well-being, either in retirement or what happens next in our lives? Firstly, and it's super simple, Epicurus knew that friendships matter. And all of the modern research backs that up. We know that to be true. In fact, loneliness has been shown to have a negative physical impact on our lives and reduce our life expectancy. Secondly, Epicurus talked about simple pleasures, because building connections with people you love and like doesn't always need to be about building these elaborate memories. I know that when I think about the memories of I value with the people that I love and like the most, they're often the simplest stuff. It's around the dining room table, just having a chat. It's board games. It's just going for a walk and both of us saying something funny. It's the stuff that's simple that's often the best memories for me. Thirdly, creating an environment or environments for friendships to thrive is key. Now, for Epicurus, that meant opening up his back garden for people to chat, commune, and talk philosophy in this environment of friendship. Now, I'm not suggesting for 1 minute that you open up your back garden for all your friends to come round and create an environment where that's the environment they hang out. But thinking about the communities you're part of and the communities you build and how you contribute to those communities, I think is a really important step to take. However, I also want to share some rules that both the Epicureans and the Stoics believed was important when thinking about friendship. I hope you're getting a lot from this video, but I've got a quick favour to ask. I'm on a real mission to make sure that we share insights from both ancient philosophy and modern research to help you live a better retirement or what happens next today. And there's a few ways you can help us. Firstly, if you're getting value from this video, feel free to leave a comment below. And if you'd like to, I'd love a little like button as well. Also, if you're not subscribed to the channel, we share at least weekly insights into living a great next chapter of your life. And we're on a mission to help more people like you do it. So feel free to subscribe to the channel, and I hope you find the future insights that we're going to share really useful. Also, we're compiling all those insights into a book. And that book is due to be out. It's written, but it's currently with the editor, due to be out early next year. If you click the QR code below or in the comments, take a look at some of the links, you'll be able to join the waiting list and be one of the first people to get access to the What Happens Next book. Firstly, friendship isn't about quantity. It's about quality. We seem to live in a world often obsessed with numbers. How many friends have you got on Facebook? How many followers have you got on Instagram? How many connections have you got on LinkedIn? But here's what the Stoics and the Epicureans believed. True friends are the ones that uplift and support you and are around when you need it. Seneca had a brilliant test of what true friendship looked like for him. And I interestingly think those lessons still apply today. First question when you're considering a friendship is, do they uplift you? Secondly, do they share your core values, or do they believe something different about the world? And that might not be good or bad, but it might be an important test to consider whether you consider them a true friend and somebody you want in your life. And thirdly, do they reciprocate your energy and care? Do they give and take, or do they just take? Now, if the answer to all those three questions is yes, they uplift you, yes, they share your values, and yes, they reciprocate your energy and care, the answer might be they're really properly a true friend. If the answer to some of those questions is no, I'd consider whether that relationship is serving you as it stands today. The second lesson from both the Stoics and the Epicureans is building social circles with purpose, not just proximity. Often we fall into social groups. It's about who we went to school with, or where we live, or where we work. However, I'd suggest that thinking about the next chapter of our lives and the positive impact we want to make on the world might be the way to consider hanging around with people who share your values, answering Seneca's second question. And there's one super easy way to do this. Join a club. There's a great book called Bowling Alone we talk a lot about on What Happens Next, that talks about the decline of people joining clubs in the modern society and as it becomes more fragmented. But we know that joining clubs, particularly with those who share your purpose and values, is a really good thing for your well-being and an opportunity to build friendships. And there's some great clubs out there, from sporting to community to shared interests. I'd suggest having a look, finding the clubs that you think that you'd fit into and trying a few out, particularly if you've got more time to engage in some of those clubs. Now, it's interesting. I've just returned back from Cyprus last week, and I got into a really fascinating conversation with a lady who's in her mid-70s. And when she retired about 7 or 8 years ago, moved home. So she was in a completely new environment, away from people she knew. And I asked her, what was the secret for you thriving? And she was thriving in this new environment. And she looked at me and went, Chris, I am, and I always have been, a joiner. Now, for her, the club she joined that she absolutely loved was the University of the Third Age. So she joined this club that is all about learning and development in that chapter of our lives, the chapter of our lives we always talk about on What Happens Next. But actually, the other thing she does with the University of the Third Age is walk. They go on walking tours and just chat. And she loves that environment. And I think there's a lot to be said for being a joiner. Now, I know that a lot of us aren't natural joiners, but thinking about the clubs that we can join where we share both values and interests with the people we're hanging around with is definitely one key to a life well lived. And my third active tip is to volunteer. I talk a lot on What Happens Next, and all the evidence points to this, that being kind and serving others is really good for our own well-being. So look around your community or your interest groups or people you share values with and see who you can help. That might be volunteering time, that might be volunteering expertise, that might be making a financial donation, but it could include mentoring and helping those who are younger than you up on the ladder. And the 3 practical ways you can improve your social connections is by volunteering, joining a club, and thinking about the 3 questions that Seneca asked about true friendship and who in your friendship group meets those needs that you've got for those social connections in your life. I've got 2 additional videos that I'd like to recommend that I think would be really useful if you're within 5 years of retiring, but also in the early years of your retirement. This one is all about blue zones and the lessons we can learn from the happiest, healthiest, longest living people in the world. And this one is more lessons that you can learn about what happens next in your life, specifically from the Stoics. That's it for What Happens Next today. Have a lovely day, and we'll see you on the channel soon.